Welcome to One Girl at a Time, a podcast for girls, by girls, with girls. I'm Hajid.
And I'm Umayma, and we are here to spotlight on the power that girls have in this world.
For this episode's World at a Glance, we wanted to talk about Women's History Month.
It is one of the important celebratory months here in America, and we highlight the contributions of women in history. And even though this episode will be probably released after March has ended, we still wanted to include it in our World at a Glance.
Especially since we are a podcast that empowers girls and young women, we wanted to speak about some amazing young women that work to create change in history.
One influential woman is Grace Hopper, who earned her PhD in mathematics in 1934 and helped develop a compiler that was a precursor to the widely used COBOL language, which is a computer programming language for business uses. Hopper also became a rear admiral in the U.S. Navy.
Another important woman we feel isn't very widely talked about is Fatima al-Fihri, who was the first actually to found a university in the year 859 named the University of Al-Qawariya, located in Fez, Morocco.
We want to encourage you all to maybe take some time out of your day to learn about some influential women, female figures, and history for Women's History Month.
We also want to mention, since April 13th is the beginning of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, a month where Muslims worldwide fast from sunset to sunrise, we want to say Ramadan Mubarak to all our Muslim listeners.
For our listeners who don't know about Ramadan, Ramadan is a holy month for us Muslims that we partake in. From dawn to dusk, we refrain from not only food and water, but also bad character. So smiling, saying good things, and helping others is extremely encouraged. So we encourage you to learn about the topic online, or if you have a friend, a Muslim friend, please, you can ask them if you want to.
And with that, we conclude our World at a Glance segment. Now, in this episode, we will be talking to Bushra Amiwala, the youngest Muslim holding public office in the country.
Welcome to One Girl at a Time podcast, Bushra. It is a pleasure to have you on our show.
Hi, ladies. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Likewise. So before we kind of get into details, for our listeners who don't know about you, could you please tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Bushra Amiwala. I am based out of Chicago, Illinois. I just graduated from DePaul University in Chicago as well. I work at Google as my day job from 9 to 5. And then outside of that, I serve on the Board of Education for Skokie School District 73 and a half, and was elected in April 2019, making me the youngest Muslim elected official in the United States.
Amazing. Were you always such an ambitious leader?
That is such a good question. I actually was a super shy child growing up. But the ongoing joke in my family was that since I'm the first person in my family born in the United States, I would be eligible to be president if I ever wanted to. So I feel like that ambition was always integrated and incorporated within that. And it definitely was sparked in high school for sure.
You said like the president, but what initially led you to being interested in politics?
That is such a good question. So I was involved with 5 different nonprofit organizations the 5 days of the week, and found that the best way to make long-term practical change is through public policy. So as a result, I took an AP Government and Politics class my senior year of high school, and through that class decided to work for a U.S. Senator at the time. And it was someone on that campaign that saw leadership ability and potential in me that I definitely didn't see in myself at the time. And someone on that campaign asked me to run for public office, and the rest is history.
Wow. What? So that's how you kind of got into like joining public office. That's so cool. When did you realize that, being a part of, public office and being involved in politics was definitely something that you wanted to do?
I think even though I was running for office that first time, I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college, so still didn't have a firm understanding as to what I had gotten myself into. To be truthfully honest, I kind of was going with the flow, seeing what was to come and everything of that sort. And I lost my election the first time I ran for office. And the person that I ran for office against actually encouraged me to run for office again. And it was with his sort of motivation and his like leadership ability, right, that he's and that potential that he saw in me that encouraged and inspired me to run for office again. So I think it was the second time I ran for office, and after I got elected, when I was like, wow, like I love this. Public service is very enjoyable to me. It's a great way to make an impact, and I think it was getting elected that second time that really solidified the belief for me.
You said you lost the first time, but you were able to win. The second time you ran, how did it feel to that loss versus that being winning the second time?
Yeah, so I actually cried both election nights. I cried the night that I lost, and I cried the night that I won. So both were very emotional nights for sure, because each night it was a year's worth of hard work that you saw come to fruition, right? Whether they be translated through a loss or a win. And I think it was really hard for me to cope with the loss for sure. I didn't really know like what I was going to do after that. Like I thought that was it for me when it came to politics and stuff. But I'm glad that I picked myself back up and did it again a second time.
That is definitely very motivational, I think.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, like, who do you feel were your biggest supporters, like, that helped you push through those times the most?
Yeah. My biggest supporters were definitely my friends and my family for sure. My parents, actually, when I first told them that I wanted to run for office, my dad was super excited. He was super just like, yes, go do it. Like, I can't wait to see you do this. Like, you got this. Like, let me know how I can help. And my mom was very taken aback, and she was like, no. That's all she had to say. She was like, no, like, I don't think you should do this. But her also became my biggest support system as well after I decided to announce that I wanted to run for public office and everything of that sort. So they were the ones that were with me during the lowest of the lows and the highest of the highs. And I think that running for office twice and getting a lot of really exciting media attention, I definitely had a lot of temporary friends that came into my life as well. So I learned a lot about who's temporary, who has the best intentions for you, who doesn't, things of that sort.
Throughout all of this, I bet that you experienced so many emotions, but what were some of the feelings that you felt when you were officially sworn into public office? Help us kind of set the scene for our listeners.
Sure. So let's see, I was 21 years old. I was a junior in college, and I had just gotten elected 2 weeks prior and was sworn in 2 weeks after I got elected. And this was in April 2019. And my parents came with me, and a bunch of neighbors and supporters and people who voted for me came to the swearing in as well. And a lot of people brought me flowers, which I thought was so sweet. I love flowers. And everyone was just smiling and so excited. It was a beautiful spring day. And obviously we had to sort of put our right hand not on a Bible but like on the Quran, and we had to read just a recitation of oaths that was, for example, like, I solemnly swear that I'm not doing this for like monetary reasons or for financial gain. And you just have to make your interests and stuff like that clear, which I thought was really cool and powerful.
We know you are you are on the Board of Education, the Skokie Board of Education, and you are the youngest seat there and also the youngest official in the country. How does it feel to be the youngest? Like, what are some difficulties you face?
That is such a good question, and one that I feel like I don't get asked enough. I think the most challenging part about all of this is that sometimes I'm too Muslim for mainstream American culture, and then I'm not Muslim enough for my Islamic identity and heritage, because a lot of people, traditionally speaking, and I think in Pakistani culture in particular, don't appreciate a woman in politics. And I think that that's something that I'm still struggling with, like, and that's the most challenging part. It's the cultural dissonance between what I want to do and what my goals and dreams are versus like what culturally, like, we're told is not expected. So that's, I think, a really challenging thing that we don't talk enough about. And then another thing that I find to be really challenging is that American media was obsessed with my identity. All they talked about was what I looked like, what I dressed like, the color of my lipstick, the color of my hijab. And that really distracted from my messaging and my campaign and my platform and policy ideas. So I think that was a huge challenge as well.
So now on the contrary, what are some of your absolute favorite things about being in office?
Oh, yes. Such a good question. So I absolutely love that I'm able to make an impact and difference in the lives of people that have voted for me and even people who haven't voted for me or weren't my supporters, but I've been able to impact them in a positive way. So for example, on the Board of Education, we made sure that the bus system and school lunches and summer school would all be free of charge for all families as a result of COVID. So being able to alleviate that financial burden, I think, is something we're super proud of. And like you see the direct impact in the lives of families and students that you're serving. So things of that sort are impacts that we're able to make on the Board of Education. I've brought forth a piece of sort of like this new policy idea that we should have Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and Diwali on the school calendar. So these 5 other major holidays that typically are not recognized by the school. So little things like that make a huge difference in the lives of our students who typically maybe have not been able to see themselves reflected in a certain realm or space. So I think it's been very rewarding to be able to see the impacts that I've been able to make on the board.
That is definitely very inspirational, and just having that diversity and representation for those students who have that one holiday that isn't on the school calendar, so they miss school. Like I definitely if I've experienced missing school because Eid al-Fitr isn't on the school calendar, so I've had to make up those days. So having you there, like I would love to have you on the Board of Education in my district.
Yeah. It's amazing
That
that
is
you're
so
doing, sorry, but it's amazing that you're doing so many, like you're working towards something and you're actually making things happen. So I think that it's so inspirational and it's so amazing.
That is so sweet. Thank you both so much. That means a lot. And it's been such an amazing conversation so far. You all have asked such thoughtful and lovely questions.
Thank you.
We wanted to end off today's interview with what is something you would tell young girls that want to get into office that you wish you had been told yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I would give is invest in people and network, and be the change you want to see in the world. You can make a difference and an impact in the lives of so many others if you just choose to step up to the plate, and the responsibility is yours. I think if someone told me that the responsibility was mine and that I hold the agency and the power to make an impact and a difference, then that would, be the greatest thing for myself.
That is really honestly, when the first time I met you, I've been it's been turning gears in my head, and now I'm thinking when I get older, I do want to run for the Board of Education in my own district now. Thanks to you.
I love that. I love that so much. And you absolutely shouldn't. Even higher than the Board of Education. You should go for it.
I'm really looking forward to what the future holds.
Yeah. And it's when you said that you're able to take part responsibility for what you can do, I think that's such an amazing message that I feel like not a lot of people actually talk about. You have the responsibility as a person to do whatever you can do, and I think that's so amazing that you're telling our listeners and our viewers. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for having us.
Yeah, for being on this interview.
Thank you both. This was amazing. I had so much fun chatting with both of you. You two are very bright, lovely girls who are going to make a huge impact in this world, whether it be through your podcast or whatever path you two choose to go down. I can't wait to keep in touch and to follow both of your journeys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, it's Umayma
and Hajit reminding you that you can change the world.
And it starts with you. Connect with and chat with us on our social media link below, and be sure to not miss our next episodes.
If you or someone you know would like to be featured in our next episode,
or if you have any questions for us,
email us at ogatpodcast@mudeltaalpha.org. We would love to hear from you.
And keep being amazing. See you all next time.
Bye.